Hello, everybody at home. Girls, say hello to your classmates at home. Hi, guys. All right. Um, we are going to be starting off today with the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. Girls, what were the Articles of Confederation? What were they? Amelia, please tell me what the Articles of Confederation were. Excellent. First attempt at a national government. The Articles of Confederation were the first national government. There was a delay in the ratification of the Articles. What does it mean to ratify something? What does it mean to ratify something? Go ahead. To pass it or approve it, right. So, the Articles of Confederation, there was a delay in the ratification of them because there were disputes over what was going to happen with the Western lands. And when I'm saying Western lands, I don't mean Oregon, I don't mean California. The Western lands that I'm talking about are like Ohio, Indiana, Illinois. Because people are moving further and further west into this territory, and the 13 colonies, which were then, at this point, becoming states, they were wondering, were they going to take the land? Was it going to be a new state? What's going to happen with that Western land? So that was one of the dilemmas in trying to ratify the Articles. However, in 1781, the Articles are passed. Now, the first national government. The colonies wanted to make the national government weak on purpose. They wanted to make it weak on purpose. Why? Why would they want to make it weak on purpose? Weak meaning not having much power. Why would the 13 colonies want to make sure that their first government was a little bit weaker? Go ahead, Amelia.
So that what happened with Britain wouldn't happen again.
Excellent. So what happened with Britain wouldn't happen again. They were afraid that they were going to, they were afraid of their natural rights being violated. But that being said, they decided we're not going to have an executive branch because we don't want an executive. We don't want a president. We don't want a king. We don't want a single person that's going to have too much power. They decided in order to keep this government as weak as possible, that what they were going to do was create one branch of government. So they said, let's have one house of Congress. They're going to have the power to act on matters of common interest. They're going to be able to admit new states, settle disputes, coin money, raise an army, declare war, and conduct foreign policy. But the states retain all the powers that are not given to the national government. The powers include the ability to collect taxes, enforce national laws, and the states are required to contribute funds to the national government as they saw fit. And we talked about this before. Basically, Congress did not have the power to tax, and this ultimately is the main problem with the Articles of Confederation. So they're required to contribute funds to the government as they see fit. So basically, they're paying taxes as they see fit. That's like you guys paying tuition as you see fit, right? If it was up to you to pay tuition, you just wouldn't do it. So moving on, right? These are just like the layout of the powers of Congress and the limits on it, right? The things that they can't do. Again, they can coin and borrow money, but the states can too. The states can too. So there's all these different currencies flying around. Pennsylvania dollars, national dollars, New Hampshire dollars. Congress can admit new states and divide the western lands. We're gonna look at that. They can raise an army, appoint military officers, establish a postal system, declare war and make peace, and conduct foreign affairs. They cannot regulate trade or currency, meaning that they cannot regulate or control or make laws about business from state to state and money. They do not have the power to prohibit states from conducting foreign affairs. So if Virginia wants to make a treaty with France, they can. Major laws required the approval of 9 states to pass. So that would be 9 out of 13. 9 out of 13 people would have to agree for a law to pass, which is really tough. Again, girls, this is huge. No power to tax or raise national funds. How can you do anything to help the country or to make it run if you don't have any money? That's going to be a major issue. They've got no money. Okay. Now, is this where, so this is where your notes kind of start, right? Like where they end at least? Okay. I'm a little sleepy. I need to get up and stretch. All good here? Any questions? All right. Whoop. Weaknesses of the articles. Okay, so Congress had key responsibilities, but the states also placed limits on it to keep it from effectively enforcing laws and policies. So basically, Congress did have responsibilities that they had to take care of, but it was hard for them to do their job because they didn't have enough power to get things done. You want us to create a postal system, but you don't want us to regulate commerce. You want us to conduct foreign affairs, but you're also letting the states conduct foreign affairs. We're in charge of coining money, but the states each have their own form of currency, right? They're just confused. Like it's not working. And then you want us to have an army. You want us to have an army. How are we supposed to pay our army if we don't have any money? Because they can't tax. Now the issue that we're going to see is that with this lack of power to tax, we are going to see the country post-revolution kind of just nosedive into a depression. So let's take a look. So again, Congress has responsibilities, things that they have to do, but there are limits on this power that keep it from enforcing the laws. Girls, what branch of government enforces the laws? What branch of government enforces the laws? Anybody know? Go ahead, take a guess. Not the legislature because they make the laws. Right, because they make them. The executive, like your president and stuff. Well, guess what? They don't have an executive branch, so how are they supposed to enforce laws? Strike one, okay? Without the executive branch, the national government could not carry out the laws. Without a national court system, Congress had to rely on the state courts to apply national laws. So if there are disputes between individuals in, let's say, Maryland, that's fine, because the Maryland court system, they'll go to trial and they'll figure it out and they'll settle. If there's an issue between Pennsylvania and Maryland, what court system's going to figure that out? Right? There's no national court system. Girls, what's another name for the national court system? What branch of government does the national court system belong to? What branch does the national court system belong to? Judicial, right? This is like the Supreme Court. So we're relying on the states to apply national laws. And again, this is the biggest thing. This is the biggest thing. The articles denied Congress the power to tax. So they can't raise funds to repay the money from the revolution. They don't have the power or authority to regulate trade right? They don't have the power to control business or make decisions regarding business between the colonies, not the states. And at this point, we're looking at this again. Congress does have the power to print money, but so do the states. So now, when you're showing up from New Jersey to buy a Philadelphia cheesesteak with New Jersey dollars, they're not going to give it to you. It's creating a barrier to trade. These are going to be major obstacles to the United States at this point developing economically. They're all struggling at this point now. So, lastly, but very importantly, Congress is required to have 9 out of the 13 states' approval to ratify laws. If they wanted to change something about the Articles of Confederation, they needed 13 out of 13 colonies 100% to agree on this change. If one state decided that they weren't into it, they disagreed, didn't happen. They couldn't change anything. This was problematic because it made it so hard for Congress at this point. It made it so hard for Congress to make decisions quickly. So essentially, doesn't have the power to do its job, doesn't have the funds to do its job, and can't do its job effectively because not everybody agrees. Virtually useless. Did come up with some good legislation that we're going to look at next. Legislation meaning like laws. But virtually at this point, it's not working out. And we're going to see its worst part very soon. Ready to move on? Okay. So the Northwest Ordinance is probably one of the success stories of the Articles of Confederation. So we're going to see a pressure for stronger government, stronger national government. The Treaty of Paris secured independence for the 13 colonies to become their own independent nation. The United States faced a range of challenges that the national government was ill-equipped to meet. So after they gained independence, they run into a few obstacles where they kind of second-guess themselves and say, our national government can't handle this, can't figure this out. And the shortcomings were the failures of the government that was created by the Articles of Confederation leads us to try something new. So, the Northwest Ordinance, this took place in 1787, and this was a plan for settling Northwest Territory. Remember we were talking about those states a few moments ago? Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, all of them. So this area was recently settled. So they found this area, they're moving west, and they're trying to figure out what to do with this land. They decided that the Northwest Ordinance would create a system for admitting new states, ban slavery, and it included a Bill of Rights as well. So at this point, anything northwest, slavery would be banned in these territories. Okay, and this actually lasted for 125 years, this ordinance. Moving on to dangers and unrest. The most pressing problem at this point was war debt, and this is ironic because this is why we broke away from Great Britain, because they taxed us for war debt. The only difference here is that when we're taxing, you're taxing with representation, meaning that the people of this country make up the representatives in government, and therefore they're agreeing to be taxed. The whole idea of consent to the government. But let's take a look. So the most pressing problem, right, that's our war debts. Congress tried to approve a tax on imports, meaning goods coming from other countries into ours. Congress tried to approve a tax on the imports, but the act never was ratified, meaning this tax was never signed into law, and the government went broke, and they slide into this post-war depression. At this point, forget about unity. The states are trying to keep themselves afloat because they're economically struggling so badly, and at this point, it's described as 13 sovereignties pulling against one another. A sovereign nation, right, is independent, can be by itself, make its own laws, handle its own foreign affairs. So at this point, All 13 states are acting like 13 sovereignties, pulling against one another. Any questions so far? We're getting to the good part, where the Articles of Confederation just kind of blows up. Any more questions? I think people are still writing, so I'll give you a second. Okay, we're gonna move along. Do you guys need a second? I'll give you a second. Is this all making sense? Okay, the Treaty of Paris, guys, that's the treaty that made sure that that the United States was an independent nation from Great Britain. So make sure you keep that in mind, because that is, while it's the small font, it is an important part. Okay. All right, we're gonna move along. So this is where the Articles of Confederation blows up. This is kind of like the last straw for the colonies getting together and saying, we need a stronger national government. Shays Rebellion. September of 1786, we saw in Massachusetts farmers rebelled against the state government. What happened was the farmers could not pay their taxes. And because the farmers could not pay their taxes, the banks were foreclosing on their farms. They were taking their farms. Because of the economic struggle and, this depression, the farmers were desperate, and they decided that they were going to rebel against Massachusetts. Revolutionary War Captain Daniel Shays, he led the attacks on courthouses to prevent the judges from foreclosing on the farms. This rebellion swelled to nearly 2,500 people in 1787, and in Massachusetts, the legislature asked Congress for help, and Congress had no money or forces. Guys, when we say Congress, we are talking about the national government at this point. What happens is this rebellion got so big that Massachusetts at the state level could no longer handle it. They had said, hey, national government, we need your help. And the national government said, you know how we don't have the power to tax and how we have no money and we can't pay the military, so we don't have a military force? Yeah, this is going to be a problem. So basically, Massachusetts says, national government help us. National government says, hey, I can't. I have no money and no forces. And so this rebellion served to show just how weak the national government was. Not that it was weak enough to preserve individual rights, but it was too weak to even function as an effective government. So at this point, it is agreed that the Articles of Confederation need to be revised. They don't know that they're replacing it yet. They don't know that they're replacing it with the Constitution yet. They just know that they need to fix this because there is not enough power in the national government. And girls, please make sure that you know, when I say national government and central government, I mean the same thing. And then when we do adopt the Constitution, we go from a confederal system to a federal system. You're going to start hearing me calling it the federal government. And these all just mean the same thing. And to give you an even better idea, okay, when I'm talking about national government, I'm talking about the government that has representatives from all of the states, right? Whereas the state governments are just individual like this. So let's say that this is Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, New York, and Virginia. Okay? This has a representative from all of them. Because like this looks like the confederal system. Remember when we had that image in our textbook? The central government got its powers from the state governments. The state governments in this situation have all the power. When we adopt the Constitution, that changes. The central government becomes more powerful with an overarching constitution, but they share powers, and that's when it turns into a federal system. But don't worry about that just yet. I just want to let you know what I meant by all of this. Any questions about Shays' Rebellion? Group of farmers in Massachusetts can't pay their taxes because they're poor, because of the economic struggle. They lose their farms. They storm the courthouses to tell them, you're not taking our farms, bring pitchforks and whatnot, like the photo right here suggests. And then Massachusetts says, central government, we have a problem. Central government says, well, that's too bad. And then they realize they need to fix the articles. We're good? It's like a story, right? Just a story. Okay. We're going to move forward. Is everyone good at these notes? Cool. So we have the calls to revise the articles. In March of 1785, Washington invites representatives from Virginia and Maryland to his home because they were having an issue with a trade dispute. Maryland and Virginia were having a dispute or an argument. And because there's no judicial court system, they can't sue each other to go to court. Instead, George Washington says, come to my house, we'll figure it out. Okay? This clearly isn't, they can't do that for every single problem that they're going to have. They can't just have George Washington invite people over for, tea and discussing trade disputes. That's not how it's going to work. This led to a meeting that would discuss regulating commerce between the states. Again, girls, to regulate commerce means to control or pass laws for business. Regulating commerce. In February of 1787, James Madison persuades the Confederation to endorse a meeting for the purpose of revising the Articles. James Madison says, okay, we all need to get together and we need to fix this stuff. Again, remember, in order to make changes to the Articles, you need 13 out of 13 states to agree. So in May of 1787, there was a meeting to strengthen the Articles, and this meeting is held in Philadelphia. Okay. Is that? Oh, nice. Okay. All right, guys. Now what we're gonna do is take out your workbooks, and you guys are gonna work on pages 19 and 20. 19 and 20. Your workbook. You can work with the person next to you, but this is what you do. You don't scooch up next to each other like this. What you do instead is you just turn your desk. And you make sure that there are at least 5 common squares between you and the person next to you. If you are away from a lot of people because people are missing, you can move your chair somewhere else. But you cannot sit in a seat that someone was already sitting in, which shouldn't be an issue because no one else should move except for maybe people like Lauren, Sierra, and Nicole. So yeah, we're looking at pages 19 and 20 in your workbook, so go ahead and get started on that. Again, 5 tile squares between you and the desk that you're working with. So get started on that. It's the workbook page, like where there's 2 questions that you answer on each page. It's nothing crazy. That was good. We got through a whole section. Excellent. Yep, and you can work with the people around you. I guess it's a lot of reading, so you wait to answer the questions when you're done reading. Got it. Girls at home, we're doing pages 19 and 20 if you want to take time to do that. And we're going to go over it in about 4 minutes. Was anyone able to answer the first question yet? Oh, we're tired today. Are we tired? I'm tired too.
Please point your motion. The field hockey team has an away game today. Please allow the field hockey students to dismiss in about a minute or so. Thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah?
What's this new on this new?
The articles. Yep, the articles like that new government. Is anybody here a field hockey person? All right, beat it. Just kidding, but you can leave whenever you want. Guys, for homework tonight, I know, right? Yucky. Since when do we have government homework and I know. You're just reading and answering 2 questions, not a big deal. No, not that. You don't have to finish that for homework. For homework, you're just reading the first 2 pages of section 4. Section 5. 4? 4. You're gonna be reading 51 to 53 and then answering just 2 questions for homework. I'm gonna put that in your teams though, so don't worry, just make sure your textbook's at home and that you can write your answers somewhere. You don't have to bring your workbook home. Your textbook should already be home. Who are you playing?
The lumber, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice, all right. Let them know. Yep, good luck. Oh, yep.
Did you play any sports here?
Did I play any sports here? Okay.
Softball.
No.
Basketball.
Yes.
I don't know.
Soccer, basketball, and lacrosse.
You did soccer?
Hmm?
I don't know how to do that. Expect that.
What's that supposed to mean?
I don't know. I just did not expect that.
Yeah.
I would have lacrosse.
I liked lacrosse a lot, yeah. You know, I may or may not have been all academy, just saying. What's that called? Subtle flex, yep. A subtle flex, yep. It was fun. Basketball, I didn't get in a lot, but it's okay. In soccer, I played goalie.
Oh, I don't know how to expect that either. You have boss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What? He's not allowed to coach. Why? He's a back problem. He's a what? Back problem. So it's not weird. Oh.
How was the lacrosse? How'd you guys do last year, lacrosse team? You only got to play for a little bit, right?
Oh, I didn't know.
You didn't play at all?
Season.
At all? I thought I saw you guys practicing. I guess it was just.
We practice a lot, but,
All right, guys, say bye to your classmates. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Yes, they can see you.